Good morning everyone, today we're going to be talking about what is new in this update, mainly regarding with the Mars system because there's a lot of stuff to cover. But before we jump into all of that, if you're new to the channel, I upload NGS content daily, so if you do play this game, I would really appreciate a subscribe, as it really helps out the channel. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin the video. So the very first thing I want to go over is of course the freebie. So we need to go to our systems over here, get campaign items, receive item account, and you can see over here that we did get compensation mainly for that weapon camo from the previous seasonal event that we just had. We were not able to receive this weapon camo from the title system for achieving 1,000,000 seasonal points, I believe. So they're giving them for free now, so there we go. And if you are an NGS content creator, you also get your NGS official creator badge, as well as the premium, as well as material storage. So that's a little incentive for you guys to try to become content creators if you care about these type of things. Alright, with that out of the way, the next thing I want to talk about is of course the Mars system itself. How do you actually unlock the system so that you can use it, as well as how do you customize it? The very first thing you need to do the moment that you log in is simply go to the class counter. There's going to be a little quest icon over there telling you to go there, but nevertheless, you're simply just going to head over to the class counter. You're going to talk to the NPC. There's going to be some short dialogue, and it's going to tell you, hey, you've unlocked the Mars skills as well as the Mars system. So the next thing that you need to do is you need to click on Mars skills over here, and you need to click on Mars skill point exchange. At the very beginning, you're automatically going to have 30 of these. You're going to exchange all 30 into 30 skill points. Once you've unlocked your 30 skill points, then you can go to Mars skill learning over here and allocate any of your skill points to unlock anything that you actually want over here. Now, I don't know what the cap of the skill points are. However, it does cost you one of these Mars updaters in order to get a single skill point. However, something to keep in mind is after you've unlocked 50 skill points, so you get your initial 30 and then you farm for these Mars updaters and you unlock your extra 20. After 50 skill points, it's going to cost 2 of these Mars updaters per additional skill point. So I don't know if it's increments of 20 or increments of 10 or like how the scaling system works, but you're going to need to farm more and more of these Mars updaters in order to get more skill points so that you can actually max out all your skills on the Mars skill tree over here. Now, technically, you don't need to max out all your skills over here because remember, you can only use 2 main weapons. So that would be Garm, Nidhogger, Hydra, or Skilla over here. You have to pick 2 out of the 4 main weapons, and then over here for the sub weapons you can only pick 1 out of the 3. So technically you don't need to farm a bajillion skill points in order to max out the entire skill tree, but you do need a substantial amount to max out the extra points over here. For example, the potency up to plus 30, critical hit rate up to plus 30, critical damage plus 30, HP, natural PP recovery, PP up, as well as offensive PP recovery. Each of these categories require 30 points each in order to max out, so you are going to need a substantial amount of skill points, which is why I'm not entirely sure if there is a skill point ceiling or a cap. So we're just going to need to keep playing in order to find out. Now, the next question I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to have is, Karo, where do I farm for these Mars updaters? So the very first thing that you may have noticed is you can spend Meseta to buy these. Now, if you do full refreshes every single day, you can actually purchase 6 of these every single day, but it will cost you a substantial amount of Meseta as it does cost 250,000 each. So buying 6 of this is going to cost you like 1.5 million Meseta, so that is pretty substantial. Now, personally, I prefer to just farm for these Mars updaters, so there are multiple ways to farm for the Mars updaters. The very first way is to just go to the Crimson Realm and just farm. Remember, the Crimson Realm rotates every single day. Yesterday it was in Vanguard Laboratory, today it is in Rezel Forest, and tomorrow it will be in Mount Magnus. So you literally just go to Crimson Realm and you just farm away, and you have a chance of these Mars updaters to just drop as regular loot. Now, if you want to farm these a little bit more consistently, then you're going to have to wait for Darkfall's Aegis or Darkfall's Interception to come up. Those 2 urgent quests have an incredibly high chance of dropping. Personally, I think it's 100%, but I've heard reports that people have done this and they haven't gotten a drop before. But from my testing of my group of 8 players, every single player has gotten a drop out of the past 3 or 4 runs that we've done together. Now, another way to also farm for them is going to be the Trigger Quest. Under Trigger Quest over here, you can actually go to Darkfall's Interception, as you can see right here, not the R2, just the regular version. And then you can see there is a rank 4 where the enemies are level 90. And through here, you can also also get the Mars updater. From the triggers, I've also seen a 100% drop rate at the moment. However, again, I have heard reports of people not getting this from every single run. So personally, I don't really know what the drop rate is. I can only assume that it's incredibly high. Now, another option is of course to do the Battle of Halfya Lake. This is also a trigger. So as you can see here, there is a rank 2 level 90, and there is also the chance of getting a Mars updater. Personally, I do not recommend the Battle of Halfya Lake over Darkfall's Interception, simply because Darkfall's Interception is a lot quicker and it's a lot shorter. So personally, I recommend farming this. However, do understand that these trigger prices have gone absolutely ballistic. So as we can see here, we come to our Alliance Badge Exchange Shop. We're going to find the Darkfall's Interception right here. We're going to exchange for a couple of these. So we're going to get our badges right here, or our triggers, and then we're going to get Battle of Halfya Lake as well. And what I'm going to show you right now is the prices. So Darkfall's Interception, we go to market price. You can see that they're going for 21,000 each now, 22,000. But keep in mind that you need 5 of these to do a single run. So it does end up costing quite a bit. And then on top of that, we also have the Battle of Halfya Lake. We go check these prices. These prices aren't as bad because nobody really wants to run this, because you got to do the entire cannon phase first and then you get to kill the boss. So each run is incredibly slow and is very time consuming, which is why people just don't prefer this one and prefer Darkfall's Interception instead. Now, Darkfall's Interception prices yesterday were actually pretty crazy. I believe they were like 40,000, 50,000 each. So the prices have gone down considerably because people have realized that, hey, you know, you don't need to go absolutely crazy and get all of those Mars updaters immediately on day 1, because there's so many skill points that you need that it's gonna be a long-term thing that you slowly work towards. However, if you are incredibly impatient, you could always just spend your hard-earned Meseta on buying these Mars updaters. Personally, I will not be doing that because I don't think it's worth it. So as you can see, every time you refresh, it's always going to be here. It's a permanent thing, but after you buy one, you do need to refresh to buy another one, so forth and so on. So you are going to need to spend a little bit of star gems to do the maximum amount of refreshes. Now, if we go to the treasure shop over here for the star gems, unfortunately, there are no ways to spend your star gems in order to buy these. So there is that, but we can just refresh this a couple times and there we go. I didn't get anything good. Now, another thing you may have noticed is under the different capsules over here, it actually tells you the success rate as well as a category. So what the category name's purpose is to simply let you know if certain augments will overlap or not. So in the past, the only way to know was whether you played the game a lot and you did a lot of trial and error and you just realized that certain categories of capsules had a specific affix at the very beginning of their name, and you just kind of noticed and it was like, oh, okay, so these will overlap each other, so you can't stack them on top of each other. However, now they've made it incredibly easy. All you need to look is at the category. So for example, let us look at the Might capsule over here. As you can see, all of these Might capsules are under the same category of A3, which means that if I put Might 5 onto my weapon, which gives me 3.5% melee potency, I cannot put Might 4 or Might 3 or Might 2. I can't stack all of these Might capsules together. However, you can also see here that Stamina Might, Spirit Might, Death Might, as well as Guard Might are also under the same category of A3. So now you know if you're using Might 5 as one of your augments in your weapon or your armor, you can't use Stamina Might. It will not stack. It will overwrite your Might 5 over here. All right. So by having this category over here, it makes it incredibly easy to know that, hey, which augments can I actually put in? So for example, right here, I can actually put Guard Might, which is an A3 capsule. I can also put Super Might 1, which is an A20 capsule, and I can put Gigas Might 1, which is an A15 capsule. And let's say that I want to put Decold Might, which is a C9 capsule. I can stack all 4 of these different Might capsules together into the same piece of gear that I want, because they are all different categories. All right. So this is really, really helpful, and it will allow people to just understand how the augmenting system works, as well as the different categories of augments. Now, with that out of the way, the next thing I want to talk about is how do you even customize your Mars system to begin with. The very first thing you need to go is to go to your Gear SAS sub palette over here, and then Mars palette. Over here, you can select your 2 main weapons as well as your sub weapon. So it's very important that you actually select whatever weapons that you want to use. So for example, right now I'm using Nidhogger as well as Hydra. However, let's say that you don't like Nidhogger, you want to use a sword. You can switch to Garm over here. And right here, you can see that Garm has 3 different weapons. And on your weapon 2 over here, Hydra has 3 different skills as well. So you can basically pick whatever 2 weapons that you want over here, and you can actually have 3 different skill list sets right here. So set 1, set 2, and set 3. So you can customize it to however you want. Now, something that's very important is your sub weapon over here. By default, it's going to be Fenrir. So if you don't want to use Fenrir, you actually need to click on this and change it to Fafnir or Lindworm. All right, it's very important that you actually do this. I totally forgot about it. I've had a bunch of skills for Fafnir over here, but I actually didn't realize that my sub weapon was on Fenrir over here, and so I was just kind of wasting skill points. So make sure that you actually switch this. Now, another thing that is also optional is you can turn off the automatic voice. So when you get into the Mars system, there is a voice that tells you like, oh, you are now in critical state. Oh, now you can use your counters. Oh, now you countered successfully, or you're going into your overdrive state in order to deal massive amounts of damage. There is this AI voice which gives you a lot of audio cues. Personally, I like it because it lets me know when certain skills are going off and if I actually countered successfully and stuff like that. But if that voice really annoys you, you can simply just turn it off and you won't hear any of that AI voice. Another thing is, by default, the AI voice is going to be in Japanese. Personally, I prefer it in English because that way I understand what the heck's going on. If I counter successfully, it'll be like, get damage negated. It tells me what happens. So personally, I prefer it in English, but I do understand that a lot of people might prefer it in Japanese because it does sound a little bit cooler. Now, something to keep in mind is in order to customize your Mars palette, you do need to be in town or in a city in order to customize all of this. When you are outside of town, you will not be able to customize all of this stuff, okay? Now that we've gone over all the basics, the next thing I want to talk about are, of course, all of the different skills over here. So every main weapon has 5 different skill points that you can allocate that drastically change how the weapon works. So for example, Garm Risky Style is a really cool skill because it gives you more damage as you do more attacks. However, it drains your HP every time you do those attacks. So in order to do it, it says right here, press and hold the normal attack button to spend HP and perform up to 2 attacks. The normal attacks of all armaments that you use after this attack are charged to their final attack. So this is incredibly powerful. However, understand that this will drain your HP. So maybe you don't want that. So you might not want to put a single point in this and put points into the other stuff over here if you are deciding to use Garm or the big sword. Now, another thing that's very important is actually reading what your skills do and not be like me, because I was very confused and I literally had Chrono like explain everything for me. But when you go to your gear and sub palette over here, and you go to Mars palette and you actually click on your weapon, for example, Garm over here, please read the skills over here and see what it actually does. For example, I did not know that Garm had inbuilt lifesteal, recovers HP when attacks hit enemies. This is incredibly useful. So let's say that you are using Garm and then you go over here to the Mars skill tree and you can actually learn this skill over here, Garm Killing Prize, recover HP and PP when you destroy nearby enemies. So you get HP recovery rate plus 100% as well as PP recovery rate plus 100%. This is incredibly powerful, especially when you're farming in combat zones and there's a PSC burst. You go into your Garm, you just cleave everything left and right and everything just dies in your vicinity and you recover HP and PP. It's really useful. Now, why would you even use Mars in a combat zone to begin with? Mars is your super giga powerful gear. You usually use it on big bosses, right? Well, there is a new weekly that happens every single week where you need to defeat 1,000 enemies with the Mars system and you get a Mars updater as well as 10 star gems. And plus, it's really cool when you're in your Mars system and you're just destroying mobs left and right. You feel so powerful. And personally, I really like this system. Now, I just realized I failed to mention the most important part. How do you actually activate your Mars system? So you need to go to your gear sub palette over here, go to sub palette and click on any of the sub palettes over here, and you're going to notice right here there is Mars. So you are going to need to put this in your sub palette in order to actually activate it. So yeah, just keep that in mind that you do need to put this in your sub palette or else you won't be able to activate it any other way. Okay, now with all of that being said, there is a very important limited time quest over here, which is the Mars Training Center. I highly recommend everyone to go here to just check out all of the different gear from the Mars, especially all of the different weapon types. The main reason is because, as you can see on the bottom right of my screen, it says there's Mars, it's 1%, right? There's a little timer and now it is activated. All you need to do is simply interact with these Restore Mars battery. So you interact with them, now it's 43%, interact with it 83%, and interact with it again, and now it's 100%. So now I can activate my Mars system and boom, now I've got my Giga Gundam. So now we can can use all of our different weapons. So you can see here is my Nidhogger, which is super awesome. However, for me, I really like the Hydra. You go into the Hydra and you literally just hold down your weapon action. And this is so cool. Now, the only downside to this is it takes 10 seconds to actually get into the shooting mode. And once you're in this mode right here, everything's going bright orange, then you can let go and boom, 129,000. Now, when you actually break an enemy, like for example, Dark Vault's Interception, and let's say that you also use Nidhogger in order to debuff the enemy, you can hit up to 800,000 damage. I think the highest I've seen right now is 900,000 damage with one single shot over here with your Mars system, which is absolutely awesome. Now, the only downside is you do need to preemptively go into this mode. Like the moment you break the boss, like when the boss is going in their cutscene, you immediately go into your Mars system and you immediately just hold down the weapon action, because you can do this as many times as you want, but it just takes 10 seconds to actually shoot it once. So personally, I really like this skill because it's so freaking cool, and this is with Hydra. Now, every single skill does have an overdrive ability. All you need to do is you simply just hold down the weapon action, and that's how you activate it. And so you can mess around and experiment and see which one's the best for you, as well as make sure to actually read the skill tree as well as what points you allocate into them, because it does change how certain weapons work. So yeah. And also keep in mind that there's not only the rock bear over here. Like if you want to fight a range enemy, there's a range enemy up there. And if you want to practice your counters over here, there's another enemy over here. And then you can see here that my Mars system just finished. It's expired. It's back to 0%. You can pick up the batteries again, immediately go back to 100% and activate it again. So this training room is very useful to try all the different weapons and see which one works best for you. If you are unsure about what weapon you should use, just stick with Hydra. Hydra is the easiest one to use in my personal opinion. You just hold down left click, it shoots faster and faster, and then after a while you start shooting laser beams and stuff like that, which is also pretty cool. As you can see, you're just pew 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 pew, and you just deal massive amounts of damage from range. And then if the enemy is down, you just hold down your weapon action, you go into your railgun mode and you fire the giant railgun once everything turns orange, and wabam, look at that, very beautiful. So personally, I really like the Hydra, but you know, it might not be the best for everyone, because obviously, you know, if you're a melee class, you're going to be up close and personal. So yeah, just experiment and see what fits your playstyle. There's no right answer here at the moment, because everyone's still experimenting, still trying new things. Once everyone's maxed out on skill points, then there probably will be some sort of meta that will form. But for now, literally all of the weapons are good, so use whatever you like. Special thanks to all the members for supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me. Thank you again. But yeah, that's all I wanted to cover in today's video. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. If you did, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye.